We have seen the women play in Dubai. We got Kalinskaya versus Paolini in the final. This time, it's a chance for the men, and Daniel Medvedev has returned. Here we go. We got Jose Morgado releasing the draw for Dubai, and Daniel Medvedev has drawn Shevchenko in his first match back since the really disappointing Australian Open defeat in the final. He was 2 sets up again and lost. Last time it happened against Rafael Nadal, he went on to have one of his worst seasons. He wasn't at the same level. He wasn't winning events. And a lot of people are now saying Daniel Medvedev could do the same thing again. It is so tough mentally to be able to bounce back from such a difficult defeat like he encountered in Australia. But I have a feeling this year is going to be different. And I'm not going to say too much right now. You'll have to wait for my prediction at the end. But I believe that it will be slightly different to last time. And this is a different Daniel Medvedev. I think he's in a better mindset. And mentally, he's got maybe a better support circle. With his wife, his child, friends around him, coaches. I think he's a lot more settled, and you've seen that with his reaction and relationship with the crowd this last year. It seems to have improved drastically, and I think his happiness has as well. Before we get into the wild cards, let's release and reveal who they are. We've got Reem Abulel here releasing them, saying Abdullah Shelbaya, Gal Monfils and Summit Nagel. Of course, that last one, Summit Nagel, had a fantastic Australian Open, and we know he can be dangerous. Monfils, he's been doing it for years, and Shelbaya is an exciting player coming through who I think could be the future of tennis. He is exciting, and all three of them are really good wild cards because I feel they've all got a chance of going far. And they're top ATP players now. Maybe Shelbaya and Nagel have come from the Challenger Tour quite recently, but they're not Challenger players anymore. They're certainly ATP main fixtures, and I think all of them can beat big players on their day. Looking at something which is quite funny now, and this is related to the draw. You can see here in this video, the guy laughing is in fact Shevchenko, who's recently changed his nationality from Russian to Kazakhstani, and he's there at the draw while it was being done live, and he's laughing because he has drawn Daniel Medvedev in the opening round. And I think there was a funny quote from him live saying, "Can we just redo the draw? I do not want to play Daniel Medvedev," and there's good reason not to want to play him because he's pretty good in Dubai. And he is, if I share this, the reigning champion. He got all the way to the final last year against Andrei Rublev and won the final 6-2, 6-2. It seems like the tournament's been dominated by Russians in recent years, with Karatsev and Rublev both winning in 21 and 22 respectively. Before that, it was the Big Two show in Djokovic, Federer. Nadal did win in 2006. And then we've got Murray, Wawrinka. It's just all the big names, basically, who usually win this event. And it's slightly changed in recent years. We're not seeing Djokovic win it. We're not seeing, well, Federer doesn't play. We're not seeing Murray or Wawrinka. And it has sort of moved on to the Russian dominance in Medvedev, Rublev and Karatsev in 21 when he was amazing and unstoppable. What's going to happen this year? We have Medvedev and Rublev as the number 1 and number 2 seed. So if we go back to that, you can see Medvedev's got Shevchenko, and Rublev has Zhang in the opening round. Tough opponent there, but I'd expect both of them to be able to come through them opening matches. To review the draw in full, I think we've spoke about Summit Nagel, fantastic Australian Open. He's dangerous, but I don't see him really troubling Medvedev if he was to play him. Mensik, fantastic week he's having. He just got to the final in the previous ATP event, and he's playing Karen Khachanov. I think that will be happening very soon. Tough match between the two of them, both playing incredibly well. They're both in the draw here, but I don't think they're going to do so well in Dubai, considering they've played so much tennis and got to a final. Usually it is a bit of a curse getting to a final. It's hard to then follow that up and sort of win the next event, and I don't think that's going to happen. Fokina, I would expect him to actually surprise some people, and we could see a Fokina Medvedev match in which I think may go 3 sets if it does happen. Shapovalov, Murray, doesn't excite me. I know a lot of people probably are excited by it. They're two players who are lacking confidence, not on top form, and I think it's going to be who's going to make least errors wins the match. And after that, probably will go out in the next round, whoever they play, because they're just not that good right now. Trying to say it in the nicest way possible. Shapo's in with a protected ranking, Murray's in, but I just don't see him advancing very far. Monfils, Humbert, two Frenchmen, tough match. Humbert having the best spell in his career, at his career high, looking good, and could certainly be very dangerous and has the ability to beat big names. We know he can beat big players, so you need to be careful with him. Lehechka, always dangerous. Bublik having a great season. Same with Griekspoor as well. So some good, solid players in this little section. Karen, I've spoke about Hachanov. I think he's not going to do very well because he's just got to a final. Korda and Massetti, I'm glad them both together because I can group them in one, really, with players who show so much promise, who could be the next big players. They were there with Runa, they were there with Alcaraz, not quite delivered. Korda's had injuries, you can really put it down to. Massetti not had the injuries, but just not got better from where he was at. Still solid players, don't get me wrong, and fantastic competitors on their day, but they're not title winners for me. And I look at them and I think at the very best they'll win 250s. I don't see them winning 500s or anything above that. And then, like I've said, Rublev, number 2 at the bottom. So my assessment of the draw is it is a goodish draw, not the greatest of players, still a lot of big ones. And the big story is Daniil Medvedev and his return. I think it is his to lose. He is the big favourite. I will be surprised if we don't see him in the final. And I think we're going to see Daniil Medvedev completely differently to what we saw in that season when he lost from 2 sets up in Australia to Rafa. I think he's going to be a lot more positive, confident, and surprise a lot of people. And I think he's going to win the whole thing. So that is my prediction. I'm going to be going for Daniil Medvedev to win Dubai, the number 1 seed. And I think it's going to be maybe slightly boring. I think we're going to have Andrei Rublev in the final there with him. So a repeat of last year's final, the same result in the final. This time it will be tighter and we're going to see some tighter sets. It's not going to be a 2 and a 2. But there we go. That is my thoughts on ATP Dubai. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree Daniil Medvedev is going to bounce back and be a really strong competitor and not wilter away like he did after the Rafa loss? Let me know, and of course make sure, if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you very soon.